Atomic charge is a core concept in this course. If you don't understand atomic charge, how atoms become charged, you cannot understand how they're combined to make molecules. And if you can't understand how they're combined to make molecules, it's going to be very difficult to understand reactions. So this is a core concept. You absolutely must know and understand this to be able to be successful in any intro chem course. So let's go back to our generic representation where X is any element and Z is called the atomic number, which represents the number of protons. And looking again as an example at our lithium atom, we can see that there's 3 protons in the nucleus. And so that would be represented by lithium and a 3 there. And now we need to know what the charge is. Now, as something is shown, as an element is shown in the periodic chart, you assume that it has the same number of electrons as protons. And so if lithium has 3 protons, positive charges, and 3 electrons, negative charges, then that means the net charge will be 0. Now, we don't write a 0 where the charge is. If the charge is 0, we just leave it blank. Now, what I just told you, let's look at that mathematically. And let's look at it compared to our model here. If it has 3 protons, Z equals 3. If it has 3 electrons, the number of electrons is equal to 3. And 3 minus 3 is 0. So we can either do it intuitively. We can just count the numbers of each of these and see if they cancel each other out. Or we can just do it mathematically. But let's take a couple of other examples to see if you understand. Let's say our lithium atom somehow, for whatever reason, lost an electron. Oops. It still has 3 protons, but now it only has 2 electrons. So it has a net of positive 1. So this lithium atom has a charge of +1. So whereas we would write the 3 proton, 3 electron lithium atom, just Li, we would write this new one as Li plus to show that it has a positive 1 charge. As a quick aside, had that been a positive 2 charge, we would have written a 2 there. And it's kind of weird, but a positive 2 charge, you pronounce it positive 2, but you write the number first and the positive or negative charge, if that's the case, second. That's just convention. Don't overthink it. Just do it. But it doesn't have a positive 2. It has a positive 1. Let's look at one more scenario. Let's say instead of losing an electron, it actually gained an electron. What would our new atom look like then? Well, we don't change the number of protons, so it still has 3 positive charges. But now it has 4 negative charges for a total charge of -1. And we would denote this Li minus. So there we have neutral atoms and atoms with charges. Now here's a little inside ball. Technically speaking, atoms with charges are no longer atoms. Atoms are charged neutral species. When an atom becomes charged, it is then known as an ion. And there's 2 classes of ions. A positive charged ion is called a cation, and a negative charged ion is called an anion. So what we really have in this case is lithium atom, lithium cation, and lithium anion. Let's now use all of this knowledge that we've had in these fundamentals, and let's build our first molecule from scratch. Let's build it from atoms. Consider the sodium atom. Well, you know Z, the atomic number, is 11. Yep, I'll just look on the periodic chart, and sure enough, it's 11. Sodium will always have 11 protons. It'll have 11 positive charges. Now, sodium atom has how many electrons? Well, you can see nothing is shown here, so the net charge is 0. If it has 11 positive pieces, then how many negative pieces must it have to get a value of 0? Of course, the answer is 11. So we'll just write a little note here that it does have 11 electrons, and it has a charge of 0. I'm going to show it as a 0 just for illustrative purposes. Normally, you would not write the 0. And the reason I want to do that is this particular atom is walking along and somehow it loses one of its electrons. How many electrons does it have now? It now has only 10 electrons. It's still sodium, but now what's its charge? It's still got 11 positive bits, but now it only has 10 negative bits. Therefore, its charge is positive 1. It has one more positive piece, one more proton, than it has negative piece electron. So what we just made is a sodium ion. Well, what happened to that electron that it lost? Well, it just so happened a chlorine was walking by and nabbed it. So now our chlorine atom, it still has 17 protons, but how many electrons does it have? It now has a total of 18 electrons. So what will be the charge if you have 17 positive pieces and 18 negative pieces? You have one extra negative piece, so the charge would be -1. Now what do we have? A sodium cation and a chloride anion. They are opposite charged pieces, so guess what they will do? They will come together and make a molecule of sodium chloride. These positive charges make them stick together. Oh, by the way, because the whole molecule is charge neutral, we don't show the individual charge on the ions in a molecule. And so there we have it. We have just taken sodium and chloride elements, made ions from them, and then made a charge neutral molecule. Using our analogy, we have just combined our Lego blocks using studs and tubes to combine them to make a molecule. One block of Na and one block of Cl. Congratulations, you've made your first molecule from scratch.